Here at Imola, the grid is forming for the final race of today, but it's the first of two in the Lamborghini SuperTorofeo World Final for the drivers in the Pro and the Pro-Am classes. We've had the AMs and the Lamborghini Cup races already for their first stanza. 3 safety car periods, lots of drama, bit of controversy, fascinating race. Let's see what we have in store for the next 50 minutes. It's points scored in today's races added to tomorrow's that will give us the World Final winners across each of the 4 categories. And of course we have each of the 3 key regions racing together for the first time rather than being segregated as they were Thursday qualifying, Friday racing. Separate events for, of course, North America and Asia, and then for Europe. But here everybody gets mixed together. 1 or 2 drivers racing with different co-drivers, some on their own for the first time. It's all a little bit different, and it does offer a fascinating insight into just who the star Lamborghini drivers are. Dakota Jane is on the grid, David Addison trackside. Welcome to the first race for the Pros and the Pro-Ams. Qualifying this morning, and Riccardo Agostini, the man that will start on pole position, driving number 101, the car with Trent Hindman that yesterday secured the American Championship in the Pro class. And it is going to be from the European Series, Yuki Nomoto lining up alongside him at the front of the grid. Mandatory pit stops in this 50-minute race come between 20 and 30 minutes. If you have 2 drivers to the car, it's 1 minute and 40 pit in to pit out. If you're on your own, it's 1 minute and 43. And we shall see how this race pans out, whether it's going to be drivers from Asia, Europe or the North American Series that come out on top, because across all 3 regions the champions have been very deserving and very impressive indeed. Take the Asian victors, Kate Cozzolino and Afik Yazid. They won 10 out of 12 races during the course of the season. The American champions Trent Hindman and Riccardo Agostini, 6 wins, and the European champions yesterday Loris Spinelli and Mick Grenier, 6th win of the season to secure the championship for them. So we've got the grid filling. It is going to be 24 cars for this race for the Pro and Pro-Am categories. And with a number of the teams, a number of the drivers being new to Imola, the chance of being here at the start of the week to go testing very important. What they hadn't factored in was weather. It snowed. And even now, there are still big lumps of snow sitting around the paddock. So they lost a huge amount of running on Monday and Tuesday and into Wednesday. They've been playing catch-up ever since. If it's a level playing field for your regional race, it's less of an issue, but it does put some of the visiting teams on the back foot going into the World Final. But you wouldn't think that for the pace of Riccardo Agostini in qualifying this morning. There he sits on pole position, 101 being the Wayne Taylor Racing run car. And down on the grid, hello Dakota.
You said I'm with 2nd position right now, Raphael.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of work here to do. You've got some really strong competitors on pole and behind you. What's the strategy?
Well, the strategy is something, looks like the race yesterday. We had a great start with Yuki, and I just finished the race. So we had a great qualifying today. We almost did the 2 pole positions, so we are starting 2nd place for 2 races. So we have an advantage against the other drivers to the championship, the World Final. We're just trying to do our best. The car is perfect good, and our strategy is good, is working everywhere. So I think we can try to win this championship, and hopefully the race today. We're pushing so hard.
Well, you're definitely not lacking confidence. Good luck. Thank you.
Yesterday they had their first win in the European SuperTorofeo. Rafael Abati and Yuki Nomoto. Yuki will go first. Rafael Abati will do the 2nd stint in that car. Rafael having come from a few years back, many years back now in fact, winning the South American, the Sudan Formula 3 Championship, and into Lamborghini SuperTorofeo this year with a new co-driver in Yuki Nomoto, who came from Japanese single-seater racing, the Formula 4 Championship. They're 2nd on the grid. 3rd on the grid is the car of Edoardo Liberati, and he shares with Nicolas Costa. There it is. He had a brief onboard view from the champions car a moment ago, Loris Spinelli and Mick Grenier. It's going to be Loris Spinelli that will start, but there you've got Edoardo Liberati. He goes first in the Vincenzo Sospiri racing car, the former GT3 Asia champion. He was the GT3 champion last year. So Edoardo Liberati, very versatile driver. Let's go back to Dakota on the grid.
I am with Mick Grenier, and he's starting in P4 right now. He's already been the champion of the European. You've got also a lot of work to do here. You're looking a bit nervous. Loris in the car, do you have confidence in him for a good start?
Always confident with Loris. I think we have a very good car, but in qualify was really tight. We missed the pole by 1/10 and 1/10 in my qualify as well. So I think everything is possible. Obviously a bit difficult to pass here, but let's see, 50-minute race. So yeah. give it a go.
Let's see, I'm sure you'll make it exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Grenier then. Mick Grenier, who is Canadian by nationality, the new European champion, having raced back home for a few seasons, then a few seasons away, and then came across last year into European racing, Carrera Cup Italia, first now into Lamborghinis. He and Loris Spinelli put together as a partnership for the first time at Monza back in April, driving for the Antonelli Motorsport team, and yesterday they became European SuperTorofeo champions. There is an intriguing entry, 116. It's Austin Versteeg's car. He was the runner-up yesterday in the North American Pro-Am Championship, but he's joined by Jeroen Mull, who's very much a pro, and Jeroen Mull will start in this race, but he only qualified 5th on the grid, so he led yesterday until he was overtaken by Trent Heinemann and then fell away in the second North American race. You'd anticipate Jeroen Mull, who starred in SuperTorofeo Europe 3 seasons back, to be good in this race, to make some progress from 5th on the grid. And there, very much a man to watch, last year's World Final winner, Dennis Lind, who we haven't seen in Lamborghini 1 Mate racing this season, but he has been aboard GT Lamborghinis in Blancpain Endurance. Dennis Lind, it's a bit of a gamble this, in a sense, because he's next on the block, but he will start 6th on the grid, last year's World Final champion. Axel Jeffries, the Zimbabwean driver, starting 7th with Rick Brokers, who actually missed a race earlier on because finally Rick was able to sit and watch a race rather than be in it, the AM and the Lamborghini Cup race. He's concentrating on being a pro with Axel Jeffries for the World Final in the car that's operated by the GDL Racing team, and then lining up alongside is going to be another competitive car. You'd anticipate this to be up at the pointy end. Number 3 is Richard Antonucci to start, 4 wins this year in the American Championship, and the man that won in 2015 in the World Final, Patrick Kuyler, the Finn, he will go 2nd, but they're only 8th on the grid. It illustrates just how competitive the classes are, especially the pro category. There you've got for 9th on the grid, Artur Janos, the Polish driver, sharing with BRDC rising star Toby Sowery, the young Brit. And Toby Sowery came into Lamborghini racing this year in the Asian Championship, splitting his time between that and the BRDC Formula 3 Championship, in which he was 4th in the end of the season, electing to skip the last 3 races to concentrate on his Lamborghini efforts, and it was worth doing because he had a win in Shanghai with the Pole Artur Janos. They will start on the 5th row alongside the Asian champions, a bit further back than they would like to be, I'm sure. Kei Cozzolino and Afit Yazid. It's Kei Cozzolino, the Italian-Japanese driver, that will start in that car. As you look down on the grid, we've had the 3-minute board at which everybody must now be on their wheels, off the jacks. There's 1 or 2 engineers still on the grid, but they will vacate at the 1-minute board. It's a rolling start, so the lead car will guide them around a lap. It will peel in at the end of it, and we don't get the car stationary on the grid, of course. They go straight into the start of the race. Mandatory stops between the 20th and the 30th minute, unless the safety car is out, in which case the pit lane is closed and the window is deferred. That's what happened in the earlier AM and Lamborghini Cup race. Happened yesterday as well in one of the regional championship races. So then, we're good to go. 50 minutes of racing in prospect, very competitive entry. The Lamborghini World Final, which has moved from Sepang to Sebring to Valencia, and then this year to Imola. Very much Lamborghini's home ground, of course, here in Italy. And it attracts lots of Italian fans, lots of Lamborghini guests and dealers and owners. And it's not just about the racing. There's a big dealer network here in the paddock. There are driving experiences to take part in the very sunny but chilly conditions. The merchandising unit's been doing a roaring trade of woolly hats and jackets, I tell you, and with the launch of next year's Huracan for the 1 Make series, and with the championship prize givings this evening as well. It's a busy weekend, there's a lot going on, and at the centre of it all is the World Final, and the opening stanza for the pros and the pro-ams is about to get underway. It's the same base car, of course, for everybody, the Lamborghini Huracan. Then you have different teams running them, and this great mix of drivers from all walks of life. Quick businessmen, career racing drivers, winners of Lamborghini championships and world finals from all over the globe thrown together. And let's see what this race has in store. In the earlier world final race for the AMS and the Lamborghini Cup drivers, the safety car was deployed 3 times, the first one being after the first corner. Fingers crossed we do a bit better. There, the orange and white car is one to watch. Kei Cozzolino, the Asian champion, with Afit Yazid, as I say, starting a bit further back on the grid than he would like to be, 10th, but certainly one to watch as the cars now accelerate away, weaving around to get the warmth into the Pirelli tyres. Yesterday, we had punctures being a bit of an issue for a few people. Not a Pirelli problem per se, but with drivers being very aggressive over the curbs, that was not doing the tyres any good at all. Today, we've managed to escape without really any such dramas, people being a bit more respectful now of the curb and what they can do. Riccardo Agostini and Yuki Nomoto then lock out row 1 of the grid for this first part of the World Final for the Pro and Pro-Am classes, ahead of Edoardo Liberati and the European champions Loris Spinelli and Mikael Grania lining up alongside. Then it's Jeroen Mul who goes from 5th on the grid in Austin Versteeg's car, and the winner of the World Final last year as a soloist, Dennis Lind, lining up with Andrea Amici as his partner. Axel Jeffries and Rick Brokers are 7th on the grid. Axel Jeffries doing the opening stint, and then Richard Antonucci starts 8th. Artur Janos is 9th on the grid, the Polish driver, the former GP3 racer, with Kei Kozolino, the Asian champion in the Lazio racing car for company. 11th, it's where you find Brandon Gudovic, sharing with Emmanuel Onassis, the Canadian, and then Lucas Maron, who was pretty impressive in the second European race yesterday. But a long way back is Vito Postiglione, only 13th on the grid, runner-up in the World Final last year. Alongside him is Eduardo Piscopo. They're ahead of Michele Beretta, sharing with Catherine Legg, and alongside Henrik Still with Paul Scheusner for company. Outright winners at Spa in the European Championship, Pro-Am champions in the Middle East at the start of the season. Then you get Spike Goddard and Morgan Haber on the next row of the grid from the Asian and European Championships. Ben Gosakowski, another Australian, has the Belgian Niels Lagrange for company on the 10th row. Row 11 is Kiko Galbiati, who was in the wars in qualifying this morning, went off and did a bit of damage at the end of the session. Calvin Snooks, the Dutchman, is alongside him. Then it's Mikko Escalanen with Max Abenal, one to watch in his stint, the very quick Canadian. And then the European Pro-Am champions, Christopher Dryspring and JT Liang Jiatong, they spent much of qualifying in the pit lane with mechanical dramas. So, assuming they are fixed, they should be ones to watch up from the back of the grid. Christopher Dryspring will go first in this race. I'm just assuming the car's on the grid. Double check in a moment. Is it at the very back? Should be white car. Dryspring in his first year of car racing has been very, very impressive indeed. So, assuming all is well with that car, it'll be one to watch to see what progress can be made up through the order. Look back from the lead car, the pace car as it is, as they come down towards Ravazza. The sun starts to set, and it's been a very sunny, very cold day. Getting the temperatures into the Pirelli tyres key on this lap. And then if the race director is happy with them in the 2x2 Noah's Ark style formation, then the lead car will peel in, the lights will go from red to green, and we will be in business. The blast towards Tamburello, absolutely key. You heard Mick Grenier on the grid saying that overtaking is not that easy around here, and it's fair to say that, but it can be done. One or two drivers have been a bit more brutal in the World Final race that we had earlier on than they were in their regional races yesterday. So is it going to be the same pattern in this first Pro and Pro-Am race in the World Final? We will find out, because we're good to go racing. They work their way up towards the line. The lights on red will blink green in a moment. And part one of the World Final of 2017 for the Pro and the Pro-Am drivers about to get underway. It's a long, long run out of Ravazza up towards the timing line. The lights go to green and it's blast off. And who makes the best start? Spinelli pulls out and tries to gain ground. Nomoto gets mugged from the front row. Two wheels up the curb. Liberati on the inside line. Here comes Spinelli in the black and orange car through the middle of them all. It's going to be Agostini who leads then towards Tamburello for the first time. And being forced way wide is Nomoto. He's up the curb. He's losing place after place from the front row of the grid. They've all got through Tamburello safely so far. There, Richard Antonucci goes through. Dust settles in the background, but it's Riccardo Agostini, the former Carrera Cup Italy champion, who leads the way. Kozolino diving up on the inside line there, but he loses out, in fact, because up and past him goes Artur Janos, also from the Asian Series. Key battle between those two. Jeroen Mul comes under attack, though. He was fourth at Tosa. He gets run out wide there. Look up the curb on the outside. He'll have the inside line for the kink up the hill. He's on the outside line for Piratella. It's Agostini leading the way. Second is Spinelli, and then third is Eduardo Liberati there. Fourth up on the inside line goes Dennis Lind with a real point to prove here. He's had a pretty torrid time in Block Pound this year. He wants to remind people just how good he is, and he's absolutely flying. He's up to fourth ahead of Jeroen Mul. In sixth place is Axel Jeffries. Seventh is Yuki Nomoto, who got mugged off the line. Eighth is Richard Antonucci. And then ninth and 10th, Kei Kozolino battling early on with Artur Janos, but Janos has dropped away, I fear, in the second sector. He got forced out a little bit wide, and we've got the safety car, and I fear that is going to be, one of them is Morgan Haber, the other is Calvin Snooks. And they are off down at Tosa by the look of it, and on the edge of the road there's no way that the race can carry on. The two cars I was talking about in strife in qualifying, Kiko Galbiati missing from the grid, and so too Christopher Dryspring missing from the grid as well. So 22 started and we're down to 20 already. And Artur Janos has also had a glitch, because as we saw early on, he was fighting for 9th place with Cosolino, and at the end of the second sector, he was down in 20th spot, so he's had a moment somewhere. So, safety car deployed, and the leaders come through at the end of lap 1. Riccardo Agostini headed the pack, Loris Spinelli second. This is the reason that we have the race being interrupted like this, while the cars are hoiked out of the gravel. Everybody looking on in the pit bunkers, looking at the pictures, looking at the data, and hoping that these safety cars aren't for their car. Shota Alcazaba has had a pretty horrible weekend in the 33 that he shares with Calvin Snooks. It's got no better. And Jan Kisiel's car, Morgan Haber at the wheel of it, that's the other one in the gravel. That had all sorts of problems in the second European race yesterday. Life has got no better there either. Agostini, Spinelli, Liberati, Lind, Mull, Jeffries, this car of Nemoto, then Antonucci, Cosolino and Lucas Mauron is the top 10 at the end of the opening lap of the race. So the Dutch driver Calvin Snooks has that car dragged away. And just to recap then, Kiko Galbiati and Christopher Dryspring, the two missing off the grid. So we lose the top 2 out of European Pro-Am, frustratingly. Kiko Galbiati was threatening to win that yesterday, but an off in both races blunted the point score, whereas the Dryspring and JT Liang car came through to take, in the end of the championship season, 4 race wins. Right, so Snooks' car's out of the way, Morgan Haber's is the next, and hopefully it won't take too long before we can go back to racing them. It's interesting, yesterday the mindset seemed to be get points, get points. Here, it's a far more aggressive style of racing. Both classes, both races have proved that. Notice the little track map stuck to the steering wheel of Yuki Nemoto. And there is Calvin Snooks, who has been hoiked out of the gravel and is back into the race. Morgan Haber hoping that he will be allowed to rejoin as well. So Snooks is a lap down, but at least we'll get the track time in. And Morgan Haber wanting to do the same now. There is a very gravelly car of Calvin Snooks. And there, Morgan Haber's car is being pushed, or pulled rather, through the gravel. And to a place of safety. He will want to rejoin if he can. Let's have a look at the start. Great getaway by Riccardo Agostini. And have a look at Nemoto. White car nearest us. He gets run out wide, has to lift, bounces over the curb, has to try and find a gap, runs across the road and was being attacked from all sides there. Dropped down the order. This is how he saw it on board. That's Edoardo Liberati up the inside. Also diving through was Jeroen Mull. So Yuki Nemoto losing a few places in all of that and dropping in the end down to 7th spot. Artur Janos then down in 20th with a lot of work to do when we go back racing. We'll try and piece together what happened to some of these. Vito Postiglione, by the way, still having a pretty horrible time down in 13th place. Runner-up in the World Final last year to Dennis Lind, who runs 4th at the moment. Calvin Snooks goes through, having been pulled out of the gravel. The Antonelli team watches on as Riccardo Agostini leads the way. Loris Spinelli then having gained 2 spots from his grid place, up into 2nd position. He was on the 2nd row, started 4th. Liberati runs 3rd. Dennis Lind has also made progress, and as you can see, Yuki Nemoto is the one that's gone backwards, losing 5 places from where he started. Safety car stays on track for at least 1 more lap. Hopefully we can go racing at the end of this. This is the view of Eduardo Piscopo, the North American Pro-Am champion this year. He shares with the young Brit based in America, Taylor Proto, in his first year of racing, and they had a great season together, winning the Pro-Am championship yesterday, defeating the best efforts of Austin Versteeg, and it was a very fierce fight, rubbing bodywork at one stage between Piscopo and Versteeg. Great fight they had, but the Italian-British combination prevailed. Eduardo Piscopo is well worth watching, having won the 2014 World Final, the Sepang season. And he shared it with Miros Pavlovic. The safety car is in this lap. We'll go back racing then with, what are we going to have, about 43.5 minutes, give or take, to run, when maybe less when they come over the timing line. There's Jeroen Mull running in 5th spot. Dennis Lind is the man ahead of him. Dennis wanting to remind people how good he is. A little bit frustrated about his season as Mick Grenier looks on, still nervous. Loris Spinelli, the man behind the wheel of the 17 second place car. The American teams looking on in their end of the pit lane. And the team manager of car number 28 has got to report immediately to race control. That's Hendrik Still's car that's in 15th place. 28 is run by Franz Conrad's team, Conrad Motorsport. Hendrik Still is in 15th spot, but that's a pretty urgent message. Team manager car 28 report immediately to race control. What that is all about, we'll find out hopefully. So now Loris Spinelli tries to get the warmth back into the tyres and the brakes, get the pressures back up, ready to go racing. He knows on these restarts how important it is to push, but Riccardo Agostini will be the man in charge as they come through Ravazza. He will control when the cars accelerate away, and he will want to make sure that he tries to get the drop on Spinelli as they come out of Ravazza now. Speed building as they accelerate towards the timing line. The pace car, the safety car peels in, and we're back racing as they head up towards the line with Agostini leading Spinelli. Liberati is third. Dennis Lind, the Dane, is in fourth place. The lights are back on green. We're racing once more. Loris Spinelli then tries to work out which way he's going to dive at Tamburello to try to make a move. He goes wide and then goes for the inside into the main part of the corner. Can't do it. Being mindful that Liberati wants to find a way past him. Lind runs fourth as they wriggle out of Tamburello. Then now we're on lap 4. We're back racing in the first part of the Pro and Pro-Am World Final. On board with Spinelli, down towards Villeneuve. Can't find a way through on the approach, down towards Tosa. They run now. This is where the incident was earlier on, and very wide again goes Yuki Nomoto from second on the grid. He's dropping like a stone at the moment, falling further and further and further down the order. Out of Tosa, the race leaders climb the hill, then up towards the brow. And up front, Riccardo Agostini, the North American champion, leads Loris Spinelli, the European champion. Through Pelotella they come then now for the first time on this restart. Downhill they drop. They're going through 211 is Kei Cozzolino, Dennis Lind's car with its 263 number, registered, if you like, as being in the Asian Championship, because Andrea Amici's co-driver racing that this year is up the inside line. Goes Cozzolino with that muscles Nomoto out wide. Another place lost by Yuki Nomoto. So Kei Cozzolino gains another spot. That puts him 8th. Notionally, Dennis Lind is the best place of those out of the Asian Championship. It's an Asian numbered car, as I say, even though he never actually raced in it, but his co-driver did. Cozzolino then, the Asian champion, is up into 8th spot with a pretty robust move against this man, Yuki Nomoto, who grabs 5th gear as he comes now over the brow. Another challenge is made, and Dennis Lind goes third at Ravazza. Liberati gets run out wide, and Dennis Lind is on a mission here, isn't he? Absolutely charging. His reputation is on the line, really, having won it last year on his own. He's dependent on Andrea Amici, who is no slouch as the co-driver, and they come up across the timing line now. So Agostini leading Spinelli. Big gap back to Lind third. Fourth, Liberati. Fifth is Jeffries. Sixth is Mull. Antonici is 7th. 8th is Cozzolino now. 9th is Lucas Maron. And down to 10th has gone Yuki Nomoto. Not a happy race at all for the Japanese driver who started, remember, on the front row of the grid. To Villeneuve they come. Another team manager being summoned immediately to race control is from GDL Racing. As there for the race lead goes Spinelli up the inside of Agostini. Kei Cozzolino's team manager then being summoned to race control as we go on board with Spinelli. Grabs 5th over the brow towards Pelotella, but Riccardo Agostini hangs on to the advantage then. This truly a clash of the champions, because you've got the American versus the European champion, with last year's European champion and world final winner Dennis Lind there going through shot third, closing up on the ball the time. Liberati is 4th. Axel Jeffries, the Middle East champion, is 5th. And there's been an incident, we haven't seen it, but it accounts for Arturo Llanos, because the incident involving Llanos and Cozzolino is under investigation. Remember I said that Llanos had dropped away on that opening lap? Well, clearly there was contact between him and Cozzolino. That is being investigated, and that's why the team manager of 211 is on his way up to see the race director. More news as it breaks. Meantime, the leaders break for Ravazza through that double left. There's number 7, Axel Jeffries, in the car that he shares with Rick Brokers. And Axel Jeffries, one of a long list of people here this weekend who's moved from single-seaters into GT-style cars, running in 5th place. The leaders go through with 0.3 of a second between them. It is still Agostini ahead of Spinelli. Going through 3rd is Dennis Lind, who shares with Andrea Amici, who was the 2013 champion in Lamborghini SuperTorofeo. And then in 4th place it's Liberati, keeping Axel Jeffries at bay. The race leaders go through. Jeroen Mull is still 6th ahead of Kei Cozzolino. Dennis Lind has done the fastest lap of the race as he tries to creep up onto the back of the 2 race leaders. This is the fight for 4th. It is Eduardo Liberati keeping at bay for the moment. Axel Jeffries, Jeroen Mull is next. He's under attack from Cozzolino. Then it's Richard Antonici, who I thought would have gone better than this. He's only 8th ahead of Lucas Maron and then Yuki Nomoto, but very disappointing still. Vito Postiglione in the 11th spot, qualified badly. Another car under investigation now is Axel Jeffries for the safety car procedure. Number 7, Axel Jeffries there, the black and red car. He's being investigated for a possible infringement when the safety car was deployed. So they're busy in race control, never mind running a race. They've got all of these other investigations to think about. the race leaders, it's 2 at the moment. It's going to be 3 shortly, isn't it? Because Dennis Lain is inching up onto the back. Loris Spinelli can't find a way past Agostini, and therefore he's a bit stuck. Dennis Lain, clear real estate ahead of him. He's catching. This is Yuki Nemoto, who is 9th. He's got Vito Postiglione looking for a way past him. Plunging downhill towards Ravazza, and there in strife and off the road has gone, and it looks like it might be a punctured tyre. It is. 2.05 is Richard Spike Goddard, the Australian driver. Now, was there contact that caused the puncture? Did he go over a curb, or has he run over some debris somewhere? Either way, I'm afraid to say that's another one bailing for the pit lane. So poor old Spike Goddard, the Aussie who spent a few years in British single-seater racing, Formula Ford and Formula 3, and then F3 in Europe and Carrera Cup, Deutschland. Let's see if we can piece it together. Goes wide onto the curb, and it seems as he runs over the curb that's where the tyre goes pop. So you do have to be careful over the curb, and Goddard, by getting sideways, does the tyre, and he's heading for the pit road slowly. Almost 3 for the race lead then as they come into Tosa this time. We're on lap 7. We've got 37 minutes of the race to go. Postiglione there having a look at the inside to get past Nemoto for 9th, and he can't do it. At the moment, the best of the cars out of Pro-Am is 39, which is Lucas Mauron. 26 there you're looking at is Niels Lagrange, the Belgian driver, sharing with fellow countryman Peter Van Ester. So Lucas Mauron from Brandon Godovic, and then Hendrik Still is the order in Pro-Am, but Henrik Still's Conrad car was another one with a team manager being summoned before the officialdom earlier on. Cozzolino on the tail of Jeroen Mull here. There are the 3 race leaders. They're almost together. Look at the way that Dennis Lain has caught up to them. He's done the fastest lap of the race. He took another 6/10 out of Spinelli last time through. There is Jeroen Mull, 6th, 7th Cozzolino, 8th behind him is Antinucci. Richard Antinucci, the nephew of Eddie Cheever, the former Grand Prix racer. They plunge down to Rivazza this time. There to the inside line goes Axel Jeffries. There's contact and off he goes into the gravel. It was very, very optimistic that. There was just about a gap when he started. There was a full gap when he finished, but little good has it done him because Axel Jeffries is in the gravel and he's not going very far without some help. And I fear the safety car might be required again as Jeroen Mull comes up over the timing line now, having got himself ahead of Eduardo Liberati. Kay Cozzolino runs 6th. Well, Jeffries was under investigation for the safety car procedure anyway. Now the car's sitting in the gravel and effectively out of the race. Even if it's allowed to rejoin, it'll be a lap down. So Agostini leading, Spinelli leading Lain, Mull up to 4th. 5th is Liberati. Cozzolino is 6th. Then it's Antinucci, Nemoto, Postiglione and Mauron. And there, coming through Villeneuve, is Eduardo Liberati, about to get jumped by Cozzolino, who gets a tighter, cleaner run. He's on the outside for Tosa behind him. Look, you've got Antinucci, who doesn't know which way to go. He gets up the inside of Cozzolino, who loses a place, and another place he's gained, because way out wide goes Liberati. Richard Antinucci suddenly gains 2 places, and a great move. Charges up on the inside line, and Richard Antinucci now is a man on a mission as Postiglione there in the blue and yellow car goes through as well. Suddenly, the race has come alive now for 4th down to 10th. Lots of shuffling is going on as Antinucci then gets himself up past Cozzolino. That's 5th and 6th. Postiglione is up to 8th. Liberati is the one that's gone tumbling down the order. And now Agostini is getting away as behind him Spinelli starts to have to worry about Lain. The lonely 4th is Mull. Their 5th is Antinucci ahead of Cozzolino, ahead of Nemoto and Postiglione, who is 8th. There's no suggestion of the safety car, though, for the Axel Jeffries drama down at Ravazza, and they're approaching that part of the circuit now. So it looks as though they've been able to drag that car out of the way with the snatch vehicle. Quickly getting it to a place of safety, and therefore the race continues unaffected as they're going through is Niels Lagrange. Leaders through, the gap between the top 2, 6/10ths, and then 7/10ths, Spinelli to Lain. They're just starting to break up again. 4th is Jeroen Mull. Here's the fight for 5th, which is Antinucci, Cozzolino, Nemoto and Postiglione. Eduardo Liberati down in 9th has fallen away. And then 10th is Lucas Mauron, the best of those in Pro-Am. 11th is Michele Beretta. 12th is Brandon Godovic. 13th, surprisingly not getting better than this, Eduardo Piscopo. 14th is Niels Lagrange. 15th is Artur Janos. 16th is Hendrik Still. 17th is Mikko Eskelinen. And then 18th is Ben Gersakowski. Through Tosa goes Antinucci running in 5th place. And now they head up the hill. We're currently working lap 9. We've got 33 minutes to go. There is Axel Jeffries' car. that's been taken out of the way. The marshal with his phone, that's helpful, taking photographs. As Axel Jeffries will, if he can, want to get back into the race when the car's been taken to a safer place, and there's the opportunity perhaps to drive back to the pit lane. Now here, look, second and third have really closed right up. 7/10 has disappeared. Dennis Lind is all over the back of Loris Spinelli. Their fifth is Richard Antinucci, with Cozzolino, with Nemoto and Postiglione right up behind him as well. Downhill they plunge through Rivazza, but not only has Lind closed on Spinelli, but so too Spinelli is closing on Agostini. So it is now 3 for the lead. That incident between Liberati and Jeffries is being looked at as well. Over the timing line goes Riccardo Agostini, the race leader. Spinelli is 0.6 of a second back. 0.4 back from him is Dennis Lind. Is Lind near enough to have a go? Flat out sixth gear up towards the Tamburello. Down through the gears into second. Turn left, turn right, turn left again, back on the power, down towards Villeneuve. There are the three race leaders, with Spinelli trying to attack and trying to defend at the same time. Spike Goddard up the road ahead, having made his pit stop to sort out the puncture. In 101, Riccardo Agostini leads the way, but he's coming under renewed attack now from Loris Spinelli. We're only really 2 laps away from the pit window opening, so drivers starting to have to factor that in now to the way they're driving. Over the brow. I don't think the back marker is going to be an issue, particularly. Spike Goddard's running at a decent enough pace. They will catch him potentially before they pit, but it's not a cert. Downhill, the gap down again in the first sector from 0.6 to 4 between Agostini and Spinelli. Dennis Lind then in third place will give way to Andrea Amici, Spinelli to Mikael Grenier, and then Agostini to Trent Hindman. Axel Jeffries, by the way, has just driven down the pit lane, having been pulled out of the gravel bed, as we saw. Right, the leaders come out of Variante Alta. Dennis Lind is the one that's a little bit untidy that time and loses, what, a length maybe, to the top two. Spinelli concentrates his attack on Agostini as they come downhill. You've seen that it's not that easy to overtake diving into that corner, as evinced by Axel Jeffries a couple of laps back. So here, Spinelli wants to bank some points for the world final, but ideally, if he can find a way past Agostini, he will seize the opportunity. Up towards the line they come. We are under a minute away from the pit lane opening. Through they turn. Agostini, Spinelli and Lind. 0.8 covers the top three. And look at the gap they've pulled over Jeroen Mull, who is 4.6 seconds back now in fourth position. Jeroen Mull is hardly slow, but he's a long, long way adrift as Axel Jeffries trudges out of the car, walks away. This was the move. There was a gap. He braked so late. The gap was closing. He had to be late on the brakes, but I think in fairness, he was going to go off or go wide anyway, even if there hadn't been the contact, because he was so fast down the hill and was going to have to brake so late and so hard. I think Jeffries, to be fair, would have gone wide, may have gone off anyway, but the contact just exacerbated the problem for him as Edoardo Liberati tried to close the door, and Liberati's car seemingly has suffered as a result of the impact, because he's 9th and struggling to catch up. He's, what, now 7 seconds away from the car ahead of him, that of Vito Postiglione. So Dennis Lind is back on the tail of Spinelli. Spinelli drops away from Agostini. The pit window is open. Let's see who is going to be the first one in then as the leaders come over the brow towards Variante Alta for the 11th time. Turn right and then turn left. Dennis Lind is perhaps the more aggressive over the curbs. That's been catching people out, though, the aggressive way of treating the curbs at Imola. But look now, Spinelli has got to go defensive. Never mind think about attacking Agostini. The leader, the Italian driver, is getting away. Dennis Lind dives up the inside. Got a little bit sideways as he came down the hill. There may even have been a nudge between the two of them, but Spinelli is really under attack now. Dennis Lind up the curb. Spinelli knows he's in a motor race now. Dennis Lind's efforts came to naught as into the pit lane comes Jeroen Mull. Interesting. Not Jeroen Mull, apologies. That's the lap. Spike Goddard. Through goes Jeroen Mull. Antinucci is in and Postiglione is in to give way to Jonathan Cecotto. So the teams are ready. Here's the next task. Find the right pit box. And the board being waved from Benaldi is at Richard Antinucci to give way to Patrick Kujala, the Finn, former world final winner. So in is Antinucci, in is Postiglione, in also is Edoardo Liberati, Arturo Janos is in, Spike Goddard is in, Snooks is in, and because of their earlier dramas, Jeffries and Haber are in as well. So it is Riccardo Agostini leading the way, second and third now, 2 seconds back. Shows you the effects of having to defend can have, because by taking those slower lines, a huge chunk of time is lost by Spinelli against the leader Agostini. Yuki Nomoto here looking for a way past Kei Cozzolino. This is for 5th at the moment. Over the brow they come. Cozzolino, the Asian champion, who had a great day at Fuji back in the summer when he won both Lamborghini Asia races and one of the 2 Blancpain GT Series Asia races as well, in what else but a Lamborghini. And here he runs 5th. Could he make more progress after the stops? Well, it's going to be Afik Yazid who will be behind the wheel, so he'll have the pressure, the young Malaysian. 2nd and 3rd out of Variante Alta. Jeroen Mul then in 4th spot. And therefore 5th, Cozzolino, with now Nomoto tucked up behind him. So the order shuffles as we go through the pit cycle like this. Michele Beretta ahead of Lucas Maron, Brandon Godovic, Eduardo Piscopo. There was some confusion after qualifying for this race as to whether it was Piscopo or Taylor Proto who had done the qualifying time. Everything was amended to say that it was Piscopo, but I'm surprised that car in Eduardo's hands isn't going better. Still makes me think that, with all due respect, it's Taylor Proto doing the first stint. But anyway, that car is still down in 10th place. Now, number 211, Kei Cozzolino, is being given a 10-second time penalty at the end of the race. That is for, presumably, the incident with Artur János. We didn't see it, but we were aware that that was being investigated. And so Kei Cozzolino gets 10 seconds added to the time of 211. So wherever the car runs, it is going to fall away at the end of the race. 263 is Dennis Lind working his way through traffic. He's on the back of Spinelli. Nomoto has just come into the pit lane, so getting out of the 5th place fight with Cozzolino. Loris Spinelli is still under huge pressure from Dennis Lind, whereas Riccardo Agostini leads by 1.9 seconds. In a sense, these two now ought to work together and try and bring down the gap. There, running behind them, is 205, which is now the British driver Jack Bartholomew. He's taken over from Spike Goddard. Towards Variante Alta comes the race leader on his own, Riccardo Agostini. But if Spinelli and Lind can stop fighting for a bit, work together and bring the gap down to the leader, they might have a better chance of winning this race. But at the moment, Spinelli, you can see, has lost that huge chunk of time, 2 seconds give or take, while he's been busy defending from an inspired Dennis Lind. Dennis's car entered for the Asian races, didn't take part. So this is the first time we've seen him on track in terms of a race all weekend, and he's really pushing as in comes the race leader. So now Spinelli inherits the advantage. Lind goes up to 2nd. Can they do enough on this lap to try to get themselves ahead on the pit stop cycle? We'll see as over the timing line they go. In comes then Agostini. Also in behind him, look, is Jeroen Mul to give way to Austin Versteeg, who's had a couple of outright wins even as a Pro-Am entrant within the North American Championship this year. Riccardo Agostini gets out, Trent Hindman gets in. Who else has come into the pit lane? Brandon Godovic is in. So the order continues to jumble on this, the 14th lap of the race. Side by side, number 6 is Rafael Abati's car. He has taken over from Yuki Nomoto. He's fighting with Jonathan Cecotto, who is in for Vito Postiglione, and this at the moment is for 14th place. So they both made pit stops. These are both the second drivers. Behind them on track should be Eduardo Liberati. Toby Sowery has taken over now from Artur János. We have another team manager being summoned to race control. It is Eduardo Liberati's team manager. In other words, the team manager of number 10, the VS Racing, Vincenzo Sospiri Racing team. Here's the sister car, number 6, which is Rafael Abati. And he's coming under attack from Cecotto. Jonathan Cecotto, younger son of Johnny Cecotto, brother of Johnny Cecotto Jr. And we did have both of the Cecottos racing at Monza in SuperTorofeo Europe at the start of the season. A real family outing. Down the pit road goes Austin Versteeg, ready to join the race, and the car started by Jeroen Mul. Spinelli continues. Lind pits for Andrea Amici to take over. So the race order continues to shuffle around. That's Kei Cozzolino coming in the background to give way to Afik Yazid. So when everyone has made the stops, we'll get a better idea of who is where and indeed what gaps need to close. But Loris Spinelli now doesn't have, for the first time in the entire race, anybody to attack nor anyone to defend from, so he can do a kind of dummy qualifying lap, which might be essential. Dennis Lind has spent most of the race having to pick his way through traffic. Agostini has spent much of it having to defend. Jonathan Cecotto pushes on as there. Kei Cozzolino comes in, the Lazio Racing entry, to give way to Afik Yazid. 263, Dennis Lind morphs into Andrea Amici in the background. Cecotto on the back of Abati then. This is a Pucker European Series battle. They've fought together over the course of the season. And it's the VS Racing ahead of the Imperial Racing car in replay here out of Villeneuve. Very close, absolutely rubbing there. And Cecotto running wide through the gravel as he got right into the back of Rafael Abati. Tries the outside line at Tosa to no avail. So the pit stop cycle through. Interesting that Loris Spinelli is going much longer than Mick Grenier. Likewise, Lucas Mauron doing a longer stint than will be offered to his co-driver, Nicola Gomar. So that's the new race leader then, Loris Spinelli. But the question remains as to whether he will be the leader at the end of the pit window. Can he hang on to the advantage? Heads downhill towards Ravazza, down through the gears. Second, turn in left. Runs wide, gets onto the dirt. You don't need to change up nor down for the second element. It's just throttle and lift, then up through the gears, and he comes in this time then. So Loris Spinelli gets one clear lap and now comes down through the gears into the pit lane, over the speed limit line, and now chugs up towards the Antonelli squad, ready to receive him, and then put Michael Grenier, the Canadian driver, into the car. Grenier is ready. The Antonelli team say, here you go, park here, engine off, splats over the board, and Loris Spinelli leaps from the car. 1 minute and 40 seconds their pit stop must last. Pit in to pit out. Michael Grenier gets in. Also coming in is Lucas Mauron to give way now to Nico Gomar and Hendrik Still for Paul Scheusner. We're still not any the wiser as to why Franz Conrad had to go and see the beak at the very start of the race, but nothing's come of that, as there may well be a lot of investigations post-race as well which affect the result. So the Lamborghini SQUADRA CORSE website will have all the news and the confirmed result. There in the background is Franz Conrad with the grey hair, just walking around the car operated by his team to have a look that all is going properly. There's Afik Yazid back on track then. So out of this little battle pack, who have you got? You've got Austin Versteeg ahead of Kuyler, ahead of Yazid. So that puts him in 10th place. Then it is the lapped Bartholomew ahead of the Abati and Cecotto battle. So 8th is Versteeg, 9th is Kuyler, 10th is Yazid, 11th is Abati, 12th is Cecotto. Bartholomew is 19th, caught up in it all, but actually running at their pace. Of course, that car delayed early on when Richard Goddard, Spike Goddard, had the punctured tyre. Down through Ravazza they come. The race-leading car at the moment, by the way, is Niels Lagrange, but he's yet to stop. Andrea Amici is hustling on, having taken over from Dennis Lind. And the field pouring its way over the timing line now. So it looks as though we should have Grenier ahead of Heinemann on the return to the circuit after the pit stops, as they're getting ahead of Jack Bartholomew is the car of Rafael Abati, chasing after Afik Yazid. Down the pit road comes Niels Lagrange then to give up the advantage and to give the car over to Peter Van Ester. As that car trickles down the pit lane, Lagrange has gone to the very end of the window pretty much here, and Peter Van Ester has an entirely empty pit lane for his co-driver to drive down. There's one under investigation. It is number 10, Nicolas Costa, and Eduardo Liberati's car under investigation for a pit stop infringement. Yet another one to keep the stewards and the officials happy in race control. So they are very busy with all these investigations. There's another one to add to the list. So here is the race-leading fight. It is Grenier ahead of Heinemann. So on the pit stops, the 17 Antonelli car gets into the lead. It jumps ahead, but can Grenier repel Trent Heinemann? The way that Trent has gone this weekend suggests that he might be the quicker of the two, but let's see. We have got 19 minutes of the race still to run between the pair of them as they drop down with the pit window closed into Ravazza. Grenier, European champion. Heinemann, American champion. Together they run. We had these two cars squabbling early in the race, but in the reverse order. It was the American Championship car ahead of the European. Now Antonelli comes through as the leading team, and tucked up behind as they blast over the line is the Wayne Taylor Racing entry. Trent Heinemann at the wheel of it. He goes one side and then the other. Dives down towards Tamburello, trying all the while to outfox Mick Grenier. Get a mistake out of him if he can. In third place, but 5.8 seconds back, is Andrea Amici. Can he close while the two leaders squabble like this? Trent Heinemann thinks about the inside line again as they come down towards Villeneuve. Can't do it there. Turns his way now through that sequence of corners and accelerates down towards Tosa. Mick Grenier isn't lapping as quickly as Trent Heinemann has been, but now he's the cork in the bottle. Heinemann's a bit stuck as he tries to find a way past. Is this going to give Amici a chance to close, like it did Dennis Lind a chance to close in that first stint of the race? 4th is Kujala, 5th is Versteeg, 6th is Yazid, plus the penalty, 7th is Abati, 8th is Cecotto, 9th now is Catherine Legge, having taken over from Michele Beretta, 10th is Nicolas Costa, and 11th is Toby Sowery in the recovering car that Arthur Janos started. 12th, heading Pro-Am, is the Vanessa Lagrange car from Gomar and Maron, and then Piscopo and Proto, 3rd in the class. The 2 race leaders head downhill once again. We're on lap 17, and can Mick Grenier now start to edge away from Trent Heinemann? Let's see. The gap, which was 0.2, went up to 0.4. It's now half a second. So perhaps he's now getting himself into a rhythm. Grenier is going to be able to maintain the advantage. He's a little bit ragged out of Ravazza as he's driving into the sunlight there. Jonathan Cecotto up the curb as he tries to get past Rafael Abati for 7th place, but to no avail. Still running 3rd is Andrea Amici, and a drive-through penalty for number 10, Nicolas Costa. It is a pit stop infringement, and so car 10 gets a drive-through penalty. There's not much that you need to investigate in terms of pit stops. You're either correct or you're wrong. There's no real middle ground. You're either over the correct time or you're under it. And so the drive-through penalty is given for a pit stop infringement for Nicolas Costa, number 10. There's the sister car. Rafael Abati, winner yesterday in the European Championship race. He has got Jonathan Cecotto tucked up behind him. Through they turn with Jack Bartholomew 19th running at the back of this little group. Towards Tosa they come. The leaders separated by half a second still. Mick Grenier ahead of Trent Heinemann. This is Rafael Abati's view as he accelerates up the hill out of Tosa through the gears. 4th, 5th, up towards Piratella, the left-hander. Afik Yazid turning his way out of the corner, and now we've got Arthur Janos and Toby Sowery's car under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. So this is the car 11 I'm talking about. 203 Toby Sowery at the wheel, and exceeding speed limit in pit lane, either on the way in or the way out. So it has been done by the speed gun, and that's now being looked at as well. So the race officials continue to go through the evidence for all these different dramas that we've reported on over the course of the race, and the latest one is pit lane speeding. First one of those we've had in races this weekend. Leaders through, Grenier versus Heinemann. There, finally, Cecotto has got himself up past Abati for 7th place. Jonathan Cecotto, number 23, goes through, gains the place. Grenier to Heinemann is 3/10 as they go over the line. Nearly 9 seconds back now is Andrea Amici falling away. So Dennis Lind's hard work is starting to be undone a little bit. Amici not being able to maintain that pace, and that was a really slow last lap from Andrea Amici, a 1:45. He's being caught by Patrick Kujala. That gap is 2.5 seconds, so 3rd to 4th, Amici and Kujala. That could change by the end. Abati in the meantime trying to get back ahead of Cecotto. Jonathan Cecotto in theory should be able to go after Afik Yazid now, having got himself up 1 place. So 70 runs after that car started, way back, 13th on the grid. The blue and yellow car, you can see there, 3rd of that group is Jonathan Cecotto. The orange and white livery carried by Afik Yazid, and that's the next target. 2:05 is a lap down in 19th. Jack Bartholomew, the Brit. Replay here of how Postiglioni's car with Cecotto at the wheel made the move, and that is how you do get through down at Ravazza. The door was left open, really, by Rafael Abati. And Jonathan Cecotto dives up the inside, but does a very good job of getting the car slowed down so he can make the corner. So the car's currently on lap 19, 14 minutes of the race still to run here. Up front, Mick Grenier leads the way. And despite the best efforts of Trent Heinemann, he's able to maintain this advantage. We've heard drivers talk about how difficult it can be to overtake at Imola, and for the moment, Trent Heinemann is suffering that same problem. Where does he push? How does he find a way past Grenier? He's tried to apply the pressure. Nothing has come of it. Loris Spinelli looks on from the pit wall. The Antonelli team with a whole fleet of cars to look after this weekend. And then for second spot, Trent Hyman in the Wayne Taylor Racing entry. Their third is Andrea Amici, but look behind in the white car. There it is, Patrick Kujala. The gap is coming down. It was 2.5. It's now 1.4. So Andrea Amici losing lots and lots of ground relative to the charging Patrick Kujala, who's actually lapping on the same pace as the race leaders. He, in turn, is getting away from Austin Versteeg, who is 5th. So can we have a change, I wonder, for third place before the end? We've just had down the pit lane Toby Sowery, a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and also coming in is Nicholas Costa. Now that was also a car with a penalty, wasn't it, for a pit stop infringement. Andrea Amici then is being reeled in by Patrick Kujala, the Finn, who, having had a frustrating underfunded time in single-seaters, turned to SuperTorofeo and excelled, won championships, won world finals, was picked up by Lamborghini and has been placed into different customer programs in European GT races and in North American races ever since, and going very, very well, the Finn. And he's right there behind Andrea Amici then. Amici, former Carter, former Renault racer. He's raced in Carrera Cup. He was, as I said early on, the 2013 champion. Raced in GT Asia last year, but an experienced driver is Amici, but losing chunks of time to these two. And Trent Hyman perhaps now having another go to get himself onto terms with the race leader, Mick Grenier. Maybe just a lap to let things cool down, give the tyres a breather, and then he can push harder again. The gap's a 1/5 of a second as he tries to line up a move at Tamburello, but in fairness to Grenier, he is able, as he had to do yesterday in the final round of SuperTorofeo Europe, he's able to withstand all the pressure being applied to him. Through for third, come Andrea Amici, and now Kujala dives to the inside and he goes through. Great move. Late on the brakes, flings it to the inside, and Patrick Kujala dives by and takes third spot away from Andrea Amici. Grenier versus Hyman then for the race lead. This is far from resolved, in 11.5 minutes for Hyman to find a way through. 15 points for a win, 12 for second. And they climb the brow now, down towards Piratella. You go through that left, and then the road plunges downhill towards the Acqua Minerale double apex right. There's a left kink that takes you up the hill towards the Variante Alta, and as Mick Grenier hangs on to the advantage, Trent Hyman, who came to prominence in Europe with the outings in the Formula Ford Festival and the Walter Hayes Trophy as part of the USA Scholarship, Jeremy Shaw's team. He then went back to race single-seaters and sports cars in the States and has been the 2016 Lamborghini Pro-Am champion, the 2017 Pro champion, and he's right there on the back of Mick Grenier, who came into Lamborghini racing this year after being an Indy Lights competitor and a Formula BMW racer in his first career, if you like. The Canadian then coming to Carrera Cup Italia last season and trying to push a career in European racing. Well, so far so good. He is up front. Meantime, Taylor Proto here has got himself into the lead of the Pro-Am class. But it still makes me think that it's the wrong way round in all of that, because that's the kind of drive you expect out of Eduardo Piscopo, whereas the car was a little bit slower in that first stint. But anyway, it is shown as Proto behind the wheel. Taylor, in his first year of car racing, the North American Pro-Am champion, has done an exceptional job and has got himself up then ahead of Van Ester and Nico Gomar to lead in Pro-Am. Race leaders are on lap 22, a 1/5 of a second, that's all, between Grenier and Hyman. Now, if they get themselves together, if they keep squabbling, does Kujala have any chance at all of getting onto terms? He's 11 seconds back. I think it's too much to ask even of Patrick Kujala. Andrea Amici, though, in 4th place, is 4 seconds to the good of this battle pack. Versteeg, Yazid, Chicotto, then it's Abati 8th, Catherine Legg going well 9th, and in 10th spot, Taylor Proto. Downhill comes Austin Versteeg. Afit Yazid trying to attack, but mindful of Jonathan Chicotto behind him. You've got the Asian champion in the middle of all of that then, Afit Yazid, who's done lots of single-seater racing before he turned to Lamborghini and has been a regular class winner in both Pro-Am and then Pro in the Asian series. This year with Kei Cozzolino, but He was Pro champion in 15, Pro-Am in 16, Pro in 17. Keeps on winning titles in Lamborghini Racing. There's Afit Yazid, as here come the overall race leaders. Through they go, and Grenier to Heinemann is 0.3 of a second. Up to the timing line for third is Patrick Kujala, and then fourth, Andrea Amici. Having lost the place, he's lost 2 seconds. There, fifth is Austin Versteeg. Cecotto goes through up into sixth. What's happened to Yazid? He's dropped back into 8th place because 7th is Rafael Abati. Down to 8th then is Yazid. 9th, trying to hustle along behind them, it is Catherine Legg. And then Taylor Proto should be rounding out the top 10 with, what have we got now? 8 minutes to go still. Jonathan Cecotto pushing. Former single-seater racer, then GT4 competitor before coming into SuperTorofeo this year. And Rafael Abati is right there behind him. There's an incident between Emanuela Nassis and Nico Gomar, and that's going to be investigated after the race. They're running in 12th and 13th places. The race leaders then, still with Mick Grenier, sponge-like, soaking up the pressure. Trent Heinemann is behind him. Grenier defends as they come over the brow towards the Variante Alta. Heinemann can't really think about making a move there. The fastest lap of the race, incidentally, done by Dennis Lin on lap 6. A 1:41.5. They're lapping in the 42s, 43s at the moment. These two are being caught by Kujala, but not quickly enough. It would really be a safety car that gave Kujala a proper lifeline with 7 minutes on the clock. Down through Rivatsa they come. What can Heinemann do, if anything, about Grenier? He has been close in the past. He has had that good look at Tamburello, but it came to nothing. They sprint their way now up towards the timing line once more. Go, 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 they say to Grenier. The Antonelli mechanics urging him on, but this is where Trent Heinemann is quick and where he's strong, and he has a look on the inside at Tamburello, but again Grenier moves across and defends. Takes the line as they get to the corner, hangs on to the advantage. Left, right, left again out of Tamburello. Back on the power here, down towards Villeneuve. Try as he might, Trent Heinemann just can't quite find the way through. Tamburello is where he seems to be stronger, but Grenier is just able to get the car to the right place in the nick of time to defend. What about Tozer? He's not close enough, is he, Heinemann? So he can't have a go there. They turn through and they climb up the hill now. These two are 10.4 seconds ahead of Kujala, so he's not really making the progress that he needs to. Grenier still leads the way. Here, meantime, Cecotto crawling all over the back now of Austin Versteeg. This is for 5th place. Cecotto has done a better stint than Postiglione, with all due respect, because he's chipped his way up the order, and he's not done yet either. So you've got, effectively, Europe leading America, leading Europe, leading Asia, leading America, and then Europe to round out the top 6. 7th. You're with them, Rafael Abati and Yuki Inamoto's car from the European SuperTorofeo. It's Abati behind the wheel of it. The Brazilian can't find a way back past Cecotto, who is very busy indeed, crawling all over the tail here of Austin Versteeg. Another one being investigated is Cecotto and Yazid, which might account for why Afit Yazid fell from 6th to 8th. So that's being looked at by the officials as well, as Jonathan Cecotto might be deemed to be a little bit forceful out of all of that. We will see. He's certainly making progress, no question about it. 5 more minutes are on the clock, and the race leaders are heading up towards the line, as there is Austin Versteeg. Now remember that he is a driver with limited experience. He's been in the Pro-Am Championship in North America this year. He's had a couple of outright race wins, which is a remarkable achievement. But Versteeg, from karts to prototypes before coming into GT-style cars, hanging on to the place. He's not raced here before, but he's doing a very good job indeed in the car started by Jeroen Mul. Cecotto is next in the queue. 6th, 7th, Abati. 8th is Yazid. And the Cecotto and Yazid investigation, no further action. So Jonathan Cecotto gets away with whatever was deemed to have been looked at, and continues his fight now onto the back of Austin Versteeg. Out of Villeneuve they come. We've got 4.5 minutes to go. The lead gap is still only a 1/5 of a second, but Trent Heinemann just can't find an answer to how to get past the leading car, the Antonelli-run car of Michael Grenier. He's not short on racecraft, but he hasn't got the solution just yet. This is the fight now for 5th place. Still 3rd is Kujala, who's having to settle for that 3rd place. Andrea Amici 4th is rather in no man's land. He's not catching, he's not being caught. And as the cars drop downhill then now and turn out of the double apex right at Acqua Minerale. This battle pack of 5 of them, taking you from 5th all the way down to 10th place now. Catherine Legg at the back of that group as the field for 1st and 2nd come very wide in the case of Grenier out of Rivazza. Is this Heineman's chance now? 2 wheels on the dirt from Grenier. Yes, Heineman's alongside him. There's just about the width, and he's just got his nose in front as they come across the line. Finally, he forces a mistake out of Grenier. It's now who has got the heaviest right foot and the bigger watsits to break latest of all for Tamburello, and it's going to be Grenier who breaks latest, and he keeps the race lead. Fantastic stuff. Heineman was just about ahead at one point, but as they dive into Tamburello, he drops back behind Mick Grenier. When they went over the line, it was Grenier ahead by 17 thousandths of a second. Trent Heineman looked to have done it on the inside line, but Mick Grenier braked fractionally later, had the better line, and was able to take the lead back. Fabulous stuff. Was that the best and the last chance for Heineman, or is there anything else up his sleeve? He was able to rattle a mistake out of Grenier, who ran wide at Rivazza, but it still didn't pay out for him. Over the brow they come. Trent Heineman still crawling all over the back of Michael Grenier as they drop down the hill once again. He's going to have a go, is he? Thinks about it. Couldn't really get level, and even if he had done, it would be the outside line. He needs to be on the inside for the Variante Alta. You cannot fault either of these drivers. Grenier is doing a brilliant job of defending. Heineman is doing a brilliant job of attacking. He's certainly not settling for second place. Evenly matched cars, 2 champions at the top of their game. A fabulous way to advertise the Lamborghini SuperTorofeo World Final. Downhill they come now. This is Grenier's view, but it's what's going on behind that's the concern. As to the outside line comes Heineman. He can't drive all the way around the outside, surely. He needs to get the undercut here for the second part of Rivazza. He's going to do it! Grenier goes wide. Heineman takes the lead. Job done. Through he goes on the inside line. Got the switch back, gets the race lead. There's time for 2 more laps, maybe. Certainly 1 as they come up towards the timing line. Let's see when they break the beam. A flying lap is a 1:43. There might be a lap and a second still to go. So can Grenier fight back? Let's see. He's going to have a look at Tamburello, but Trent Heineman leads the way. What a race. Brilliant way to round out the first of the 2 days of the World Final competitions. And Trent Heineman now, having hit the front, will try to get away from Mick Grenier if he can. He led by 10th over the line, and it looks like he's extending the advantage as they come out of Villeneuve now. It is going to be very touch and go as to whether we can get another lap in at the end of this. The race officials will be looking at the clock, looking at the data, and probably having a quick shout to the timekeepers to say, what's your prediction? Here is how Heineman did it. Outside line into Rivazza, went for the switchback, and as Grenier ran wide and off the road, there was the opportunity, and through went Heineman. No second invitation needed. Grenier just a little bit wide, and wham, straight through on the inside goes Trent Heineman. Great job done. So Riccardo Agostini is a happy man. His car leads. Loris Spinelli less happy. His car drops to second. And we have 41 seconds of the race still to go. Through the chicane, they turn. And Trent Heineman now, having finally got through, is getting away. This is a little bit like the battle he had yesterday with Jeroen Mull. It took him lap after lap after lap to find a way through. When he did, he just drove off into the distance. And now, look, Trent Heineman is away and gone, and Mick Grenier is dropping further and further away. He was a 10th back at the line. At the end of Sector 1, it was 3/10. Sector 2, 8/10. Sector 3, 1.4 seconds. So Heineman is away and gone. There is Patrick Kujala, 3rd. The Finn for the Bonaldi Motorsport team. 3 seconds are on the clock. 2, 1. Race leaders have gone through onto the last lap with 1.6 seconds between them. You get the feeling it's a rather deflated Mick Grenier running in second place after his best efforts have come to naught to retain the race lead. 9.4 seconds back is this lonely Finn, Patrick Kujala. And then behind him, 4th is Andrea Amici, and behind Amici is this long line of cars with Versteeg, Abati 6th, back up ahead of Cecotto 7th, Yazidi's 8th, 9th is Catherine Legg, some way back as the cars go towards Tamburello. Austin Versteeg doing a very impressive job as well here, keeping pro drivers behind him. He's put into the pro category by dint of sharing with Jeroen Mull, but remember he's a Pro-Am from the North American Championship, so in this exalted company he's doing a great job. Well done Rafael Abati as well for getting back ahead of Jonathan Cecotto. There, however, is the race leader, and Trent Heineman may not have spent many laps ahead, but he's there when it counts, and he will come across the timing line very shortly to add to what has been a brilliant weekend. Having won both of the American races yesterday, he's going to win the first part of the World Final. turning through Variante Alta. There's the rather deflated Mick Grenier. If you go back through the history of the World Final, we've never had the pro category won by anybody out of the North American Championship. It's always been from SuperTorofeo Europe. So things might be changing this year as 101 Trent Heinemann then comes through the double apex left at Ravazza. The checkered flag is at the ready, and honours in the first part of the World Final for the Pro and Pro-Am drivers will go the way of Trent Heinemann and Riccardo Agostini for the Wayne Taylor Racing team across the line. Trent Heinemann wins, and Mick Grenier comes through for second place a long way back, 6.8 seconds adrift at the end. Third will be, there he is, closing at the end, Patrick Kujala as Grenier lifted off, and fourth should be Andrea Amici, who will come through after Dennis Lind's good efforts early on. In fifth place, does Austin Versteeg hang on? He does, ahead of Rafael Abati for sixth, Chicotto seventh, Yazid eighth with a penalty. Ninth will be Catherine Legg, and then 10th to win in Pro-Am, Taylor Proto. But a very happy Riccardo Agostini takes honours with the efforts of not only him in the first stint, but Trent Heinemann. There is the Italian-British partnership, Eduardo Piscopo and Taylor Proto. Taylor Proto doing the second stint, and he will make his way now up towards the timing line to win in Pro-Am in the Change Racing car. From in second place, Peter Van Ester and Niels Lagrange there, and then third should be Nico Gomar and Lucas Maron in the Pro-Am category. So there are some happy teams, there are some rather frustrated teams, and one of those frustrated ones will be Antonelli Motorsport because of the way that Mick Grenier lost out right at the very end of the race. But he gave it his best shot, but Trent Heinemann stronger on the day and comes through then to take the win. And you can see how delighted he is with all of that. Trent Heinemann is the race winner with Riccardo Agostini, and they will make their way shortly towards Parc Ferme and then towards the podium. Another race to come, points for that, but what must be a concern to the Europeans is just how quick Trent Heinemann and Riccardo Agostini have been over the weekends. And even though they were squabbling with Mick Grenier, nobody else could get near them in the second part of that race. Patrick Kujala closed really because of Grenier backing off at the end, but Andrea Amici couldn't close. The Versteeg, Abati, Chicotto, Yazid battle was delaying them. They couldn't get anywhere nearer. And Catherine Legg and Taylor Proto a long way back after the earlier stints from their co-drivers. So Trent Heinemann and Riccardo Agostini, 3 races they've taken part in, 3 of them they've won. They've won a championship. They could be on for the World Final given that pace. Very impressive indeed. So down the pit road come the cars. Patrick Kujala on the grass there, getting the pickup just to make sure the weight of the car is okay when he gets to scrutineering. Tomorrow, the second part of the World Final for these drivers, 2 o'clock local time, so the live stream will be in operation about 15 minutes before, 1:45 local time. And there is Taylor Proto bringing the car started by Eduardo Piscopo into the pit lane and then to Parc Ferme, winners of Pro-Am after another excellent job done. Of course, they were Pro-Am champions. They were crowned yesterday. So that car heads for Parc Ferme and the scrutineering. So Mick Grenier will clamber from 17, and Loris Spinelli says well done, but unless there was a problem at the end, which is why the car was losing pace, it does seem that there's a rather deflated field to yesterday's rather hyper champions. It might be one for Dakota to ask, was it a problem or were they just not fast enough? There, however, is a very happy Trent Heinemann. A great drive that, and a great move to get the lead. He and Riccardo Agostini celebrate yet another win at Imola. Trent's excess baggage allowance with all these trophies is done for. There might be another one for a race win. There might be a World Final trophy yet to come as well. But for now, he can start celebrating. We've got another investigation getting underway, which is Emanuela Nassis and Nico Gomar at turn 18. That's being looked at, so things might be changing yet. You never know. There is Trent Heinemann being congratulated. American flag. Riccardo Agostini becoming an adopted American, I think, for the purposes of this weekend. Although it might work the other way, seeing that he keeps winning on Italian soil. Trent Heinemann might become an honorary Italian for the next couple of days. So intercom unplugged, hands device off, then the crash helmet, and then everything else that you have to do at the end of a race, earplugs out, and they're ready to have a word with our delighted race winners, is Dakota.
I'm actually down here with second place right now. I'm just waiting for Trent to get his helmet off. Guys, that was a really tough race. Mick, you held off Trent for so long, but I don't know what happened. You just couldn't, he faulted a mistake in you, but tell me from your own perspective how it went.
It was a good race. Car was pretty good. Loris did a good job, but we lost fourth gear. At the end, I was on neutral on fourth gear, so it was really difficult to keep it. Very lucky that the race finished at this lap, because two more lap and we would have stopped. So
wait, you were in fourth the whole time coming in?
The fourth was a neutral, so I had to go through fourth, and on the braking the rear was locking because I was getting a neutral, but still quite happy because it's a good point for tomorrow. And Agostini and Hinman tomorrow start 7, I think, so everything possible.
Loris, now I know it's not for at first, I can see the disappointment on your face, but come on, you can still fight tomorrow, can't you?
Yeah, great start. And team prestige today is very fast, but tomorrow we have race 2, and fantastic battle for my mate and the another drive, Hidman. And tomorrow we look.
Tomorrow's your day. Thank you.
So, in fairness then to Mick Grenier, now that we know that he had a gearbox problem, it does make it all the more meritorious that he hung on to take second place. Very impressive that, having to go through fourth gear, becoming neutral, and just getting the car to the end. Nico Gomar, 39, 10-second penalty for causing a collision. 10-second penalty for number 39 for causing a collision. That was the Gomar car from third in Pro-Am. Let's go back to Dakota.
I am with the champions of this race. Trent, oh my God, that was so intense.
I lost my voice. I was screaming so hard in the car. That was unreal. I have no idea how to race around here. I'll make that very clear. But Ricardo helped me out tremendously. It was an incredible day. We were able to force Grenier into a mistake, and luckily it worked out. But all thanks to this guy and his qualifying effort, it was mega. Big thanks to the Wayne Taylor Racing guys, Prestige Performance, Trimtex, everybody who's helped us out. This is unreal.
Apparently it's all thanks to you, even though he had the overtake.
No. Trent did an amazing job overtaking in the second last lap. So yeah, incredible race, incredible day for us. We got a really good speed since this morning. So what are you looking for? Yeah?
Guys, congratulations! Go collect your trophy. The battle's on for tomorrow.
Well, they're in the box seat, they're 3 points up with this great battle that was resolved in the end in favour of Trent Hyman. He'd already had that long go at Tamburello. This was the first attempt, but Mick Grenier managed to hang on to this. But they were absolutely side by side coming over the line, and Trent Hyman couldn't make it stick, so he had to do it all over again. And he finally did it here, wide and into and tight out of. Rivazza, through he went, gained the place, gained the lead. Great move to score honours in the first part of the World Final for the Pro and the Pro-Am classes. Pro-Am was a lot calmer in comparison, but we now have the drivers making their way up to the podium, and very quickly the drivers being ushered forward then, with the Pro-Am category being looked after. There you have for third place Nico Gomar and Lucas Maron. For second place Peter Van Ester and Nils Lagrange. And then for the top step, Taylor Proto and Eduardo Piscopo, the North American Pro-Am champions and winners of Pro-Am in race 1 of the World Final this weekend. So the winning drivers receive their World Final trophies from Giorgio Sanna, the head of motorsport of Automobili Lamborghini. And there, with my apologies, the time penalty now being applied to Gomar and to Maron. Confirmed third place is Emmanuel Onassis and Brandon Godovic. So they are the third place drivers. That's now been corrected on the timing screens. Nils Lagrange and Peter Van Ester second, and Eduardo Piscopo and Taylor Proto. An extraordinary debut season of racing this for Taylor. His father Mark has been racing as well, and Taylor, 18 years of age, has been a champion in the North American Series. He's learnt a lot from Eduardo Piscopo, admittedly, but he's certainly not slow and has done a very good job. And we'll see whether it's another title to go his way tomorrow. Everybody scarpers before the champagne gets a chance to be uncorked. And so next we turn to the pro category, where there is a very happy Wayne Taylor Racing squad ready to cheer to the echo. Trent Hyndman and Riccardo Agostini, 6 championship wins they had over the course of the North American season, 2 of which were yesterday. So the winning drivers being brought forward. For third place, it is going to be Patrick Cuila and Richard Antonucci. For second place, we will have Mick Grenier and Loris Spinelli, the European champions, and Trent Hyndman and Riccardo Agostini will be on the top step as the winners of the first part of the World Final in the pro class. There, Richard Antonucci at the far end of the podium. Patrick Cuila stands alongside him. The second place drivers, Loris Spinelli and Michael Grenier, step forward. The European champions, but not a race win, and seeing the pace of the car that defeated them, knowing they've got a tough fight on tomorrow, but you never know what might happen. But the World Final leaders at the end of day 1 in the pro class, race 1 victors are Riccardo Agostini and Trent Hyndman, who step forward to the delight of the Wayne Taylor Racing squad, the prestige performance team that's entered the car. And a very patriotic team cheers Trent Hyndman and his Italian co-driver Riccardo Agostini as the winners after a great move by Trent Hyndman. A very, very good race to round out the first day of World Final competition. The trophies are presented by Maurizio Reggiani, the head of technical for Automobili LamborghiniSpa, and for Patrick Cuila and Richard Antonucci, the third place trophies go their way now. For second, we have Mick Grenier and Loris Spinelli, and the trophies to go now to the race winners, Trent Hyndman and Riccardo Agostini. There may be some champagne yet to spray, but for now, there are certainly lots of cheers for Trent Hyndman and Riccardo Agostini. A great race, a great drive by both of them, but in fairness to Mick Grenier, had he had the full complement of gears, what could he have done? He certainly didn't give up without a fight. That defence, when they ran side by side across the timing line, was very, very impressive indeed. And if all the gears had been working, it could have been perhaps a win for them. But you can see just how deflated Mick Grenier and Loris Spinelli feel, knowing that they got a fight on their hands tomorrow. So the drivers on the podium for the photographs, and in the case of first and third, the champagne, but are rather disappointed to say the least. Mick Grenier and Loris Spinelli have gone. They are not hanging about, they're not playing. So the champagne is sprayed, and the drivers for first and third then. Trent Hyndman, Riccardo Agostini, Patrick Cuila with it in his eyes, and Richard Antonucci clink the bottles, and will make their way now off the podium. Let's just confirm the results. It was a win for Trent Hyndman and Riccardo Agostini. The gap at the end, 6.8 seconds, as Mick Grenier had to nurse the car to the end. Grenier and Loris Spinelli taking second ahead of Patrick Cuila and Richard Antonucci. Dennis Lain fourth with Andrea Amici ahead of Austin Versteeg with Jeroen Mull. Abati in the Moto sixth from Cecotto and Postiglione. Yazid and Cozzolino eighth from Beretta and Leg, and Piscopo and Proto rounding out the top 10. 11th, we've just seen them on the podium as well, Peter Van Ester and Niels Lagrange ahead of Toby Sowery and Archie Janos 12th after an incident on the first lap and a drive-through penalty, so a good recovery that by them. 13th, third in class, Brandon Godovic and Emmanuel Onassis ahead of Eskelinen and Ebenal. Maron and Gomar dropping to 15th overall ahead of Costa and Liberati, who had their drive-through. Scheusner and Steele 17th from Gersakowski and Collingborn. Bartholomew and Goddard 19th from Abkazava and Snooks when they were pulled out of the gravel and got back into the race. The retirements being the Axel Jeffries Rick Broker's car, Kisiel and Harbour out, so too the non-starters, Galbiati and Girardi and JT Liang and Christopher Dryspring. Well done Trent Hyndman and Riccardo Agostini. Part 2 comes up tomorrow. We look forward to that. We'll see you then. For now, enjoy the highlights of race 1 from the Pro and Pro-Am classes of the Lamborghini World Finals. Bye for now.